Tiffany Top everyone, my name's Bookworm. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm doing another breakdown. This is the Spider-Man Homecoming breakdown. Now, I want to say right off the bat, can I give this movie a round of applause? If you guys want to go back and watch my movie review where I said all my Spider-Man movies that I liked in order and what I said about the movie, what I liked. But now this is a official breakdown that I do every single Easter egg that I thought, some things that people don't think are Easter eggs, things I liked about the movie, rate the movie, all that kind of stuff. And then yeah, so let's get right into it. Also, guys, this video contains spoilers, so if you do not want to watch this video at all, click off now. I'm gonna give you a 5-second warning. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click off now if you don't want to watch anything about this review, because there are going to be spoilers ahead, so click off now. Now, the movie opens up with the Avengers, the 2012 movie Avengers, the first movie, and there's a weird thing going on with the timeline, and I'm going to do another video talking about the timeline later about the MCU, but the movie opens up with Adrian Toomes and his group of Savagers. And if you know what Savagers is from, it's from Vulture, and Vulture is Adrian Toomes, and Adrian Toomes is the Vulture, so he's going around scavenging everything that he can from the New York battle of the Avengers, and he gets shut down by the U.S. government department, Damage Control. Now, in the comics, Damage Control comes up and picks up around any superhero battle that's taking place, like the Avengers, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, any of those kinds of people, so it's a pretty big deal. They get shut down, and then they're supposed to be giving away every single thing that they picked up around the world that's been left by the Avengers. And then Toomes is like, no, the world's changing, boys. It's time we change too. So they start doing it, and then it flashes 8 years forward, and that's when the whole time thing goes bananas. But I'm going to go into another video talking about that later. But it opens up, they have just built the Vulture suit, and he's going around picking up scrap metal and everything that has been left from the Avengers. And he looks at the Tinker, and the Tinker looks back, and they're all both happy, and they're like, business is good. And then it opens up the Marvel Studios intro with the 1960s Spider-Man TV series soundtrack, which is awesome. It made me feel goosebumps, and I got chills up my spine and everything, just watching and feeling, reliving it. Because most of you guys know, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so good job, Marvel. You're doing a pretty good job. Then the movie, after it says Marvel Studios intro, it says a movie made by Peter Parker. It's supposed to be a joke, and also Peter is vlogging his trip to Germany where he faces off against Cap's team in Captain America Civil War. But when he does it, he passes by the Star Expo, which was in Iron Man 2, and the little boy that was standing there had his hand up against the drone, and Iron Man swooped in and saved. That has been confirmed by both the director of Avengers 1 and Tom Holland, which have said that that was Peter Parker back then. So Peter Parker's pretty much been a part of the MCU for a very long time. And people are saying that's got to do something with the timeline, but I'm going to go and do another video talking about that later. But then as Peter's vlogging around the trip, and he's having so much good time with Happy Hogan, and it's glad that he's back in the movie. Last time we saw him, he was in Iron Man 3, and we haven't seen him since then, but I'm glad he was in this movie, so everyone, good job. They take a flight to Germany, and that's where he sees it. Now, some of the things that I do not like about this, which I'm going to come back to later, is where, like, everything is not edited very well, the same way it was edited in Captain America Civil War. But then when the Germany battle's over with the airport scene, Peter and Happy head back to Queens, back in New York, and then Tony says, Happy, get the suit, and Peter's already like, I can keep that suit? And he's like, yeah, that's what we were just talking about, gives him the suit, and then they leave. And Peter's like, yes, I'm going to be an Avenger. It's going to be super exciting. And then it flashes 2 months later, and he's sending text messages, all the Happy and everything, getting nothing response back. But then we get to see his school life, and we introduce Ned, and that's when everything goes into his school life. And then we go and see him throughout the entire city. So right off the bat, this movie is beyond awesome. So thank you, Marvel, so much. You did a really good job making this movie. And thank you, Tom Holland. You have made the Spider-Man version that I've always wanted in my entire life. Now I'm going to say a couple things that I liked about this movie. The first thing is, I loved all the actors that played, and the actresses. They all nailed it. Tom Holland, Zendaya, Marissa Tomei, I think his name is Jacob or Joshua. He's the guy that plays as Ned. Michael Keaton, my man, Robert Downey Jr., and Laura Harrier. You all did a fantastic job making this movie. And, so thank you guys so much. The next part I like about it is the school life. In the past Spider-Man movies, we just get like 1 or 2 scenes at the school, and then it's right into it. But this movie goes into it where it's like, it's back in the comics, and it's like the spectacular Spider-Man TV show that was on Disney a while ago. It was like that, where Peter lived in his school and his high school life, and then whenever he was Spider-Man, it affected both his life and Peter Parker's life. So I like that they did that. Next, the set pieces were really, really good with the Washington Monument, the ferry, and then the plane scene at the last minute. All great set pieces. I'm going to come back to those parts later. I like that it had its humor because that's what Spider-Man is. He doesn't just use it for like fun and games. He also uses it to blind his like enemies, to use it as a weapon, and it also keeps him up happy and overexcited whenever he faces an enemy. So I really, really like that they did that, because in the other Spider-Man movies they kind of do it here and there, but throughout this movie they're doing it constantly all the time. So great job. Villains in this movie, really good job. When the thing I really, really, really liked is where where he didn't want to be Peter Parker that much anymore after being Spider-Man. Because usually in other Spider-Man, and other superhero movies, where like you have this freakish accident and then you become the hero right off the bat, and you already have access to all your weapons, your gadgets, your superpowers, or whatever. But in this movie, Peter has already been the Spider-Man for about 6 to 8 months now, and whenever he's like becoming Spider-Man. In the other Spider-Man movies, they've done this, where he gets bit, the Uncle Ben thing happens, and then he has the superpowers, and he's already good at what he does. He's already good at taking the photos of himself. He's good at finding criminals. He finds out what they're doing, and then he puts it to a stop. In this movie, however, he's overexcited and is too jiggly and warmed up and happy to be Spider-Man that he doesn't always get the job done. Also, he doesn't gain full control of his powers, because when him and Ned hack the spider suit later in the movie, and Karen, the suit lady, AI that's in the spider suit, tells Peter that he has so many upgrades to his suit, like the web wings, the 755 web shooter combinations, everything, and the spider drone. Peter's like, wow, Mr. Stark overdid it. So also, Peter is not just... This movie takes out... It's like Doctor Strange. In that movie, they did a couple things different, where Strange becomes the sorcerer, but then when he faces off Caecilius at his first fight with him and the encounters, he's not really good. He's already getting his butt whooped. He's already bleeding. And then when we get to the final battle, the city's already been destroyed. But at the last minute, he puts the entire city back together with the Time Stone. But in this movie, when Peter first encounters like the Shocker and the Prowler, he doesn't he's not good doing at his job, like with the chase and everything, and he has to run through the suburbs, and he can't swing very well because there's no high buildings in there. And in my opinion, that really was good about the movie. That's one of the other things I liked about it. But yeah, I loved everything about that, and thank you guys so much. Now, 5 things I did not like about the movie, or if I've got any less, because this was a pretty good movie, and this is actually my favorite Spider-Man movie now. Not just because it's in my time, and I know what people have been saying, like, why do you put Spider-Man 2? It was the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time, and you put that always in your 2? I put Spider-Man 2 as my second favorite Spider-Man. It's because I grew up watching that, and it was really good, and it had really good set pieces. But this movie had the humor, it had the right age for the characters, it made everyone look like their characters, and Michael Keaton, I think he might have topped Dr. Octavius, even though you could feel both supervillains what their goal was. But really, I think Michael Keaton, both him and Tom Holland's characters, you could actually feel them. And I'll come back to what I mean by feel, but later. But yeah, I did not like that, when I was watching the movie at the very beginning and it goes that time jump with the 8 years later, I'm like, wait, what? And I was trying to do the math in my head like 5 minutes later when we were going to the Germany scene. I was like, okay, let me put this all together. But yeah, the other stuff that I did not like about it, I guess, I didn't like that we did. When I did my character review of both Spider-Man, the new version, and the Vulture for the first time, I didn't like that Iron Man didn't fight Vulture. Now I get what you're saying. You're being like, Bilbo, you said that you didn't want you didn't want this to be an Iron Man movie, Ness. But there's a difference. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was in this for a little bit of time, but I would have still liked to see it if he fought the Vulture, though. So I didn't like that the Vulture and the Tony didn't fight. But it's a Spider-Man movie, so I'm kind of glad. And at the same time, I was watching it, and when it got close to the end, and after watching, I was like, you know what? They really did not need to fight anyway. So I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide because it was a really good movie, and I really did enjoy it. Another thing that I did not like is that Spider-Man didn't get to fight the Tinker. Okay, so I explained this when I did my Spider-Man talk, and I said I wanted him to fight. I wanted equal time with the Vulture, the Shocker, and the Tinker for Spider-Man to fight them all. And didn't like that he didn't get to fight, that he didn't get to meet, or he didn't get to fight the Vulture. I mean, he didn't get to fight the Tinker. Sorry, the Tinker, if you do not know, makes up the weapons of the Vulture, and in the comics he does the same thing, except he makes it for everyone. So like the Shocker, he made things for the Vulture. I think he made some things for Oscorp that Osborn took credit for, and that's why he became like a supervillain. But yeah, in this movie, he made everything from the wings of the Vulture, the high tech altitude, the Shocker gauntlets, pretty much everything. The thing that they can like walk through like solid objects with, that kind of thing. He made all that, but I'm disappointed that Spider-Man didn't get to meet him. At least meet him. I would have been okay if he had met him, just not. He didn't get to fight him, which is okay. I'm gonna let it slide. But hopefully in the next movie, they'll get to meet each other because I have really high expectations for the next two Spider-Man movies. But yeah, I think that's all I've had that I didn't like about the movie. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. And if I would change anything about this movie, I really don't think I would change anything. Because in my mind, I was like, ever since I was little, and people already know this, if you want to go back and watch my Spider review, I go into depth why I wanted to become Spider-Man. But ever since I was little, and I felt like I could be Spider-Man, I wanted to do one of the Spider-Man stories I've always wanted to do is Carnage versus Spider-Man, or go into the Spideyverse. I've always wanted Peter Parker to meet Madam Web. Now, in the 1990s TV show that I watch all the time now, and that Peter Parker meets Madam Web, which she is like a blind old woman who like guides Spider-Man like around his troubled areas or gives him like riddles, and he like finds out during his hardest time with his like foes. But I've always wanted to see him meet the Spideyverse, which is like Scarlet Spider, not the Clone Saga, but like his future one, Spider Pig. Yes, it's a real thing. The Symbiote Spider, Miles Morales Spider-Man, the Iron Spider, all of them. I want to meet. I want. They made the game. I think it was called Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. But imagine that, but on like a big screen. That is something I would want. Like, just imagine that. I've always wanted to do that. But after coming out of the movies, I was like, you know what? I don't think I can ever make a movie like Spider-Man. Even though I love the hero, I don't think I ever could make a Spider-Man movie. Now, the other superhero movies I could probably make. And I have big plans if I wanted to make. I have dreams that I do want to make a couple superhero movies, but Spider-Man now is just not my one. Maybe if I get back later and I read some more comics, I could probably like do it. But other than this, I probably can never make a Spider movie. I'd probably make like the other three other movies, but I could probably never one made that tops off this. So yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about this movie. So yeah. Now I have questions of what like scared me. What are my favorite part? I think my favorite part would be either the Washington Monument scene or the ferry. The ferry scene was really cool. Okay. I'll explain this. I'll do every single set piece. Set piece number one, the Washington Monument. I liked it where like he races because it like goes back into like Captain America: The Winter Soldier where like Cap's running around and like going in a big circle and he's like passing Sam Wilson all the time, like on your left. So Peter's like doing the same thing and he gets to the Washington Monument and he has to race up there. And like when you look at it, when I went to Washington a few years ago, when I looked at the Washington Monument, I was like, it's not that tall. But when in the movie, they make it look tall as possible. And whenever like he's climbing and you get higher and higher, you're just like, whoa, this thing is really tall. But when he gets to the very top, we've never actually seen Spider-Man be afraid of like heights before. And when I like heard that Tom Holland was doing this, I was like, what? Wait, is Spider-Man really afraid of heights? And I went back and read some comics, and I don't think there's ever been a comic book where Spider-Man's afraid of heights, unless he's in space or something. Then that's a little bit different. But in this movie, it took it to a whole new level, and I liked it. And I liked it where like he jumps, like he uses the helicopter, swoops in through the window, and like he saves Liz. And it reminds me of that scene in Sam Raimi's film where like where he's upside down and he's like trying to kiss Liz, and Karen's like, "This is your chance, Peter." Kiss her, and then like he slips and falls. It's like that, but it's making fun of it. So that was pretty cool. But the ferry was probably my favorite, just because whenever he gets on there, we get to meet Scorpion. Well, he's not really Scorpion yet, but Matt Gargan, he sees him. But the Vulture in that part, where like he gets the gun, and like him and Spider-Man have like this one-and-off battle. Really cool. I love how the fighting choreographer he was good because like Spider-Man gets hit off the boat, he swings back in, and he's like because whenever we see Spider-Man get the upgrades, he's like, well, Mr. Stark overdid it, but then when he gets on the boat and he gets at the Washington Monument, he kind of knows how to use them. But especially when he gets on the boat, he's like, Karen, activate web tasers. It was so cool because not only it's like in Doctor Strange, whenever like he didn't know how to use his powers, but after like practicing a little bit more and understanding like the cloak of levitation, he finally understand kind of how to use the power. So I like how they did back and forth with that. Then the last set piece, the plane, really cool. I like how it ended with it crashing. And I'll go back into it later. But yeah, really cool. And I think the only part that scared me is when like the Vulture. He did it 2 times. First when he encounters Spider-Man. I mean, of course, in the trailers, I was like, "Whoa, this is pretty scary." But then when like you're in the movie theater, you just hear that surround sound. And when he looks at Peter and like he gives the Vulture, the Vulture call, it's really, really scary. And then the last scene where like Spider-Man takes off his mask, and that mask helps him with like all his senses and stuff. But since he crashed the plane, he can't hear that well, and he can't use his senses. And the Vulture comes like right at him. All you hear is boom. It's like what the heck. So that's probably the only thing that scared me. All right, so that's kind of breakdown right now. Now let's go into Easter eggs. Okay. So, I think the first Easter egg comes at the beginning of the movie when it opens up with a picture of the Avengers, and out comes one of the flying, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a Chitauri thing. It spits them out and stuff, and it was like flying around. That's what Hulk and Iron Man and Thor all took down, and it was in Grand Central Station. But Adrian Toomes is holding up a picture of the Avengers, and one of them that's coming out of the wormhole looks like a giant spider, so it's like, hey, the Spider-Man's coming, so yeah, it's pretty cool. The next Easter egg that I think I saw is the Stark Expo, which we already explained, which was in Iron Man 2. The next one, when Peter goes to school and he's making his web fluid, it says web fluid 3.01, and people have been saying that is, and I think I've kind of spotted it a little bit. Well, I didn't think about it at first, but after watching the movie 7 times, yes, I've watched it 8 times now. I just went and watched it last night. Because it's so good. It was so good. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so of course I was going to go watch it again. But this is the 3rd time we've seen Spider-Man on the big screen, and this is the 3rd time we've seen his web fluid in action, so it's pretty good. People have been saying, and I think I spotted this, that there was no Spidey sense in this movie, which is good, and people have been saying, they saying that he's going to get a spider sense in the Avengers Infinity War movie. But yeah, I was kind of okay with that not being in here, because we've already seen it in action, where you hear, bing! And like he's like, what was that? What was that? Oh no, my arms are like my arm hair is standing up and stuff. So it's pretty good. Later when like Ned figures out Peter is Spider-Man, he's like, you know what I would do? I would stand up on a rooftop and just shoot web as far as I can. That's coming back in Sam Raimi's first film where Peter's on his web trying to test out what he's like, go, go, go web, go. So it's a pretty callback to that. And because in that same scene, Peter's trying to figure out his web. When he figures it out, he shoots out like 3 times over like a crane. So it's pretty good. During class, Ned is still asking and bugging Peter about it, about him being Spider-Man. And during history class, and you hear the teacher talk about the Sokovia Accords. Now, the Sokovia Accords were back in Captain America Civil War, and that's what broke up Team Cap and Team Iron Man. Also, I like how the movie does this, where Tony is like being the boss around Happy, and then Happy's like, yeah, I understand. He's like, but Mr. Stark, I got all these things, and Tony walks down the room, he's like, okay, whatever. And then Spider-Man's like, Happy, I got the craziest thing that just happened. These robbers had these high-tech weapons at the A-Team robbery. He's like, I don't have time for A-Team robberies, kid. And then when Ned figures out Spider-Man, Peter's Spider-Man, he's like bugged out. He's like, Ned, shut up. Please leave me alone. But all the things that Ned says, he's like, can you spit venom? And of course, a Venom movie's coming out next year, which is going to be rated R. And he says, "Can you summon an army of spiders?" Now in the comics, he can spawn, he can create an army of robotic spiders, and he's also calling back to Ant-Man just because he like summons an army of ants. The principal in this movie, Prince Mortea, I can't remember his name, but that was the actor that played a soldier in Captain America, the first Avenger, and it's also his principal. During the gym class where Ned is helping Peter do his sit-ups and stuff, he's like, "Can I be the guy in the chair?" And he's like, "You know, there's a God." who's in a chair, and he's like hacking everything. He's also calling back to like Alfred being in the chair, which happened in Batman v Superman, where like Batman goes to the warehouse scene and Alfred's there controlling the Batwing on a joystick, and he's like telling him where to go. He's like, "Why don't I drop you off here on the second floor, sir?" So it's guy in the chair. But also the girls, they're playing this the F dating kind of game where Betty Brant's like, I would F Thor, marry Iron Man, and then kill Hulk. And the reason people were saying kill Hulk is because he, in his movie The Incredible Hulk in 2008, he kind of took down Hamilton, I think, or Helm. I can't remember the city, but he took down a city in New York. So it's pretty much. And I like where Betty Brant's like, I would F Thor because he's a demigod. And then she's like, I would marry Iron Man for cash. And then she's like, I'll kill Hulk. And then Liz is like, she's like telling everyone about Spider-Man. And they're like, you're crushing on Spider-Man. She's like, kind of. And she's like, what if he's like 30? So in being 30, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in their 30s when they were debuting their Spider-Man act. So, and Tom Holland's only 21 now. So it's like, oh, she don't care about age. So I like I call a little Easter egg that. And then when we get to Liz's party, Flash is, of course, the DJ, of course, why not? But I like how, like, him and Flash have this back and forth, and where, like, Ned isn't so awkward to Liz, but Peter's like, he can't get the words to come out of his mouth, where he's like, hi, Liz, and nice party. And she's like, oh, thanks, Peter. And she, like, knows that he's being awkward, and she knows that he likes her. And I like where Peter gets on the roof, and he's like, trying to change into his clothes, and he's like, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? But okay, I'll come back to this part. There's a couple things I do not like about this. Number one, there's a lot of windows that Peter just say later in the film, where like, Liz, you have a nice house, a lot of windows. Literally, Ned is looking around but can't look up at the other part of the building, going like, hey Pete, but nobody else that's walking around can't see Peter changing into spider suit. And then later, when like Peter leaves the school and it's like 2:45, he jumps a gate. Now, I get it, you jump a gate because your spider powers, but also, there's no cameras outside. Last time I checked out, in my high school, there's a bunch of cameras in and out of the school, so, I don't know. And then later in the hallways where he lifts up his locker to get, like, his spider suit or his extra, like, web fluid, there are no cameras. And I know you're checking people to see if there's nobody around you, but still, there are going to be some cameras in those hallways. Like, your identity is not safe now, but it's a movie, whatever, I'll vlog it out. But when Peter sees the high-tech weapons, he goes after it, and that's where we meet Donald Glover. Also, whenever like we meet the first Shocker, and he's like selling arms and weapons to Donald Glover, he brings out a Sokovia Ultron arm, which is in the form of a gun now. He also says black hole grenades, and black hole grenades were through the Dark World during the Dark Elves. There's also the Shocker gauntlets are made from Skull Crusher's gauntlets, which were in Captain America Civil War when Cap ripped off the gauntlets. So it's combat that. So they're pretty much going everywhere the Avengers are going. So I like how they're doing that, and that's kind of what the whole purpose of the movie is. The reason the Vulture, I think they picked the Vulture, not as the supervillain, but like this movie, since like Adrian Toomes is scavenging around, and I've said this early in the video, but Vulture's scavenge, so that's pretty much why like he's got the whole Vulture, and he's calling himself the Vulture. The Vulture, I'm the Vulture. I scavenge things. Also, later in the movie, when Peter unlocks full control of it, after him and Ned hack the suit, he hears an AI and he calls her Suit Lady. And later, when they get stuck in the damage control warehouse headquarters, he calls her Karen. Now, the actress that plays Karen was also in The Incredible Hulk. She played Bruce Banner's love interest, and she's actually she's married to Paul Bettany, and Paul Bettany is Vision or Jarvis in the MCU. So I like how it is keeping Tony. I see you. Trying to keep the AIs together. I get you. But when Spider-Man unlocks his full capacity, I know some things here and there from like the TV shows to the comics, from like the web grenades, the web tasers, the parachute. Yes, Spider-Man had a parachute, so yeah. He also has a belt that like shines a light that he can see out of space or in water, and he also has a spider signal. No, not a bat signal, a spider spinner. Sorry, not spinner. He has a spider signal. He also has spider drones, which he uses to locate Shocker. when Peter gets stuck in the headquarters of Damage Control, he looks around in the bag to see if he can find anything that can get him out. He finds an old arc reactor that he pulls out first. Then he pulls out an Ultron officer head. And then later he pulls out the Chitauri, the bomb. And then that's when he rushes over to the Washington Monument later in the movie. And then one of my favorite parts about the movie, when Peter goes into interrogating mode after he skips school. Now, another thing they did perfect with this movie, when at first Peter doesn't want to be Peter Parker anymore. He wants to be full-on Spider-Man as his life. And that's what he's trying to do in this movie. He's not trying to be Peter anymore. He's trying to be Spider-Man and show that to Tony that he's ready to be an Avenger. And whenever it comes to this part where he's got to go interrogate Donald Glover, he's in too deep. Even Ned's like, you're going to drop out of school? And, like, Peter's like, Ned, I'm probably not going to be here anymore. So they really tackled that part. But whenever, like, he goes home and he's, like, showing clip where Karen's, like, roll-calling clips, you can see his impression of Thor, where, like, he's like, yeah, I haven't met Thor yet, but, like, this is probably what he would sound like. But then when he meets Donald Glover, he puts on the interrogating mode, and he's like, I know that's not your voice. And he's like, yes, it was my voice. But then whenever he's like, come on, man, these people are selling high-tech weapons, and they're super dangerous, he's like, well, I got a nephew that lives around here, and I was like, oh my gosh, because everyone was saying Donald Glover is Miles Morales in this movie. I'm like, no, it's not. Miles Morales is a little kid. And then when he said he had a little nephew, I was like, the first thing in my mind, I'm like, Miles Morales. So we now have confirmation that Miles Morales is in the MCU, so, woo! I'm so excited. I'll also say this. Later, earlier in the movie, I forgot to go over this, but Vulture, whenever he kills off the first Shocker, he thinks he's using the anti-gravity gun, but he uses an aim gun. Now, the way I figured it out by it being an aim gun, because the aim were these like fire soldiers, and whenever like he shoots the Shocker, he evaporates and turns into ash. So, yeah, there it is. At the beginning of the movie, when Tony saves Peter with with one of his suits where he's not in it, he's like, man, I wish you were here. He's like, you would understand where I'm coming from if you were here with me. But when he gets on the ferry and he tries to save it, and like it goes to Tonal Doomsday and Iron Man shows up, he's like, oh, it's just the suit. But then when he and Tony reunite with each other, watching the ferry pull in, he's like, if you cared, you actually be here. But then Tony steps out and he's like, you're here? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. What's up? Yeah, you going to talk about it now? So, we can kind of see where Peter's like trying to be like big and tough, and then when Tony shows up, he's like, oh no. And then here comes the big part in the movie where after Peter gets the suit taken away, he goes to homecoming and he's asked Liz out to the homecoming dance, and she's been planning too much of homecoming. She hasn't asked anybody out. When Peter gets to her house, we're all like, oh, it's happy and giddy. And then when the music drops and the door opens, boom, Adrian Toomes right there. And it's a good way to introduce like face to face between the hero and the villain as like what? Because that kind of shows how Peter and Spider-Man's life collide with each other. Where Spider-Man fights off the Vulture, but when he was on the ferry, he saw Adrian Toomes' face. But then when he goes to Adrian Toomes' house later as Peter Parker, he's like, ugh. And Adrian Toomes is like, hey Peter, what's up, man? He's like, do I know you from somewhere? He's like, your voice sounds familiar. He's like, no, I don't know. But I love when they get in the car and Liz won't just shut her mouth about everything that Peter has done. With him disappearing at the party, he's with the academic Cathalon, and he had an internship with Tony Stark. But when Peter is like, I was at your party, and she's like, no, you weren't. You disappeared. And he's like, no, I did not disappear. She's like, you missed the decathlon, and he's like, no, I didn't. I was there. I was in the hotel room. And Vulture's like, what? And then he's like, good thing that your old pal Spider-Man show up. And he's like, yeah, I don't have the Stark internship anymore. He's like, good old Spider-Man. And I love when the colors change. When it's red, they reach a stop signal. And when the red light flashes on, he's like, oh, you're really Spider-Man. And then when he says good old Spider-Man, it turns green, showing that it's like, oh, it's go time. I know who you are. I know what you are. And I love how that did that. They did a so good purpose. And even I didn't even have to know that was a good, like, symbolism. I was just like, my God, how did they do this? This was amazing. I loved it. But, God, they did it so well with this. Alright, I know I keep saying I'm done saying there's nothing bad about the movie, but here's what I gotta say. There are some shots in this movie that I was like, there wasn't any here with the Vulture coming through like the hotel. But that was a test clip to see about the Vulture. Liz and Peter do not kiss at the homecoming dance. I would have liked that and him just like kissing her. And then when he says, "Gotta go, I'm sorry," I would have liked that. But instead, he walks in. He's like, "Gotta go." Um, and then there's the scene where like him and Tony are flying by with each other, but that's not in the movie. But it's also promoting the movie and showing that Spider-Man's in the MCU now. So I get it. We'll probably see them in like deleted scenes, part of the movie where it like fits in, but who knows? Time can only tell, but I don't know. Another part that I was really surprised about is where Peter enters the homecoming dance and Zendaya's character. So if you do not know, Zendaya is on Disney Channel. She plays on Shake It Up, and she plays on Casey Undercover. But whenever I saw her flip off Peter, I'm like, dang, you're a Disney star, and you just. I'm like, wait till these little kids see it. They don't know what to expect from Zendaya, but my God, and Zendaya's character, Michelle, awesome. I'm gonna come back to that in a minute, but my God. So when Peter figures out who Vulture is, and he's like, he leaves Liz to the dance, he grabs his old suit, and when he takes off his suit from the homecoming dance, it reminds me back in Spider-Man 2, in the first like Spider-Man movies and Sam Raimi's films, where like he runs through an alleyway or he runs through something and he takes off the suit. It reminds me also back in Superman, the Christopher Reeves, where he goes into the phone booth and he takes it off. That reminds me so much, and that's one of the reasons I like watching super movies, where they like run into something and they take off their suit. That's another thing. I don't know. It's something weird I have. I don't know. But when Peter gets on his homemade suit and he meets up with Flash, he puts on his like Dark Knight impression where like, where is she? And he's like, I gotta use your car. So it's like, oh, and then like Flash is like, you can't take my car. And he's like, I know you're big super time. And then like cuts and like he's already wrecking the car. He's like, oh. But before Peter meets up with Flash, he's talking to his date about some Branzino. Now Branzino was in the Amazing Spider-Man movie where like Gwen invited Peter over to dinner, and her mom was making Branzino, and he couldn't cut the fish very well. So, no, nice little Easter egg there. Fishy Flash. Flash Thompson. Sorry. But before Adrian Toomes and Spider-Man can get on the plane, Happy Hogan is talking onto the phone and talking to everyone who's loading up the cargo plane to the new Avengers facility. He says, Iron Man's new Hulkbuster armor, so we're going to probably see that in Avengers Infinity War. Cap's new shield, the prototype. So it's either one for, like, after in Captain America Civil War, where, like, Tony probably took the shield, upgraded to the one that he was working on in Iron Man 2, where Phil Coulson's like, what is this? He's like, oh, I need that. Or it's a prototype to help whatever happened where, like, Black Panther scratched on it now. We don't know. And then Happy has a hard time pronouncing Thor's belt, but he comes out just saying Thor's magic belt. And Thor, you probably should have got that before you left to go fight on Ragnarok. But hey, and if you don't know what Thor's magic belt is, it pretty much up games his like strength, or he can fight a little bit better. So you probably took that so you could beat off Hela. But I don't know. I know you can beat the Hulk without the magic belt. But then I gotta talk about this part. My gosh, when Peter gets to the Vulture's warehouse, him have this ultimate big dialogue between each other where he's like, how could you do this for Lizzie? He's like, I'm not doing this to hurt her. I'm doing this for her. And you can actually feel both Iron Man and Vulture in this conversation where, like, Peter fights for truth and justice because he wants to defend the innocence of the world. And then Vulture's like, they took away my job. I got people out that he keeps saying this over and over in the movie where he's like, I got family. This is why I do it. I take this, I build something new, and then I sell it. So you can actually feel the Vulture. So in that moment where Peter and Vulture are having this big conversation, I kind of felt what Vulture was going through. Where he's like, they took away my job. We have to feed after the table scraps. I mean, I would have joined his team right there just in that moment. Because I can feel what he's doing. They took something from me. I'm going to take what they did. I'm going to turn it into something different and provide it for my family. I actually felt for him. And then when Vulture traps Peter in with his new like exosuit underneath this rubble, it was back. I even knew it for an instant. And in the Amazing Spider-Man comic book, there's a comic book where Peter gets stuck underneath rubble, and he's like going through, I can't do this more. Why am I being Spider-Man? Why do I do it? Mary Jane, I can't have time for her. I don't have time for this. I'm always late to school. But then when Peter gets trapped in the rubble in this movie, he's like crying out for help. I'm like, oh, I'm just sitting there going like, oh. Like, I literally reached out my hand. My dad's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to help him. I actually felt him. I mean, I'm older than Peter in the movie, but I can feel what he's going through. Not only just because I'm a teenager, but in that movie, I'd probably do the same thing. I wouldn't be like, oh, I gotta look this up like Superman, like, picked up all that rubble in Batman v Superman to help Lois, I'd be like, oh, please, someone help me. I felt what he was doing. But then when Peter looks in the mask and he looks at his reflection, his words go by as Tony saying, if you're nothing without the suit, then you should have it. And he's remembering that he's like, I'm Spider-Man with or without the suit. Doesn't matter. So he finally picks up the rubble. I can feel his strength just urgent and him struggling to pick it up. But when he gets this final showdown, everyone felt kind of tense at this moment. People were like, okay, this is just another big set piece. But in this moment, I felt kind of like scared and frightening for a minute. When Vulture gets on there, I'm just, oh my gosh. And then when like him and Peter go through like a propeller, I'm like, oh. I thought like for a minute though, Shredder Vulture got kind of shredded up for a minute, but it was luckily it was only one of his wings, so really good. But as when Peter and the Vulture crash and Spider-Man takes off his mask, all you can hear is like this big roar, and he's trying to pick him up, and Peter's almost running out of web fluid here. But at the same time, like him and the Vulture are both weak, their suits all rusted, they can't function that well. But whenever like he picks him up, Spider-Man uses his web and every gadget. I love the air fight that they do. Now, in the moment where like Peter gets like his like shoulder or like something on him, the Vulture's like foot, his claws get stuck on him. I'm like, oh, that must hurt. And then, like, both my brother and his best friend Taylor, they both got upset because the Vulture didn't kill Spider-Man. But I got why he didn't do it. He's like, I've already beaten him up. Let me just get this stuff out of here. And then when he tries to escape with the arc reactors, Peter is like, the web suit's, he's like, the new suit's going to blow up because earlier on in the big set piece at the Washington Monument, the same thing happened to the Chitauri item that Ned was carrying. It blew up. And when his new suit was going to blow up, Peter was determined to save him. And when he holds on to him, you can hear the Vulture say, time to go home, Pete. So I like what you're doing there. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then when Peter saves him, he's determined just to save him no matter what. He don't even care if he's dead from that crash. He still gets him out, and he webs him up, and he leaves these little notes again, like he did earlier with the bike. So it's great, because that's what Peter used to do, and it's also a callback to Sam Raimi's film, where Peter leaves a message saying, just a little help from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But when Peter is sitting up there and Happy shows up to look at the rubble and the crash site, it reminds me back in Spider-Man 2 where Peter puts MJ down to like her fiance and like he's on there and he puts on his mask and he starts to jump and swing. It reminds me of that moment. Also, the ride of that roller coaster is what Bucky and Cap were talking about in the first Avengers before they zipline onto Zemo's train. Yeah, really good. I like that set piece. Okay, so big point right here that I want to put out. Okay, so at the beginning of this movie, Tony sells Avengers Tower. And I'm already like, wait, what? You just got this thing rebuilt like a few years ago. Why are you selling it? But here's the good part. They're going to another Avengers facility, and we still got 2 more Spider-Man movies. Now, some people are saying this could be 2 different other buildings. I say it could be 3. And I'm going to go into it right now. What if, I know we've seen this 2 times on the film adaptation, but I know, and this would be such an epic part if they did in this movie. What if the Avengers Tower turned into Oscorp? Now, hear me out. I know what you're saying. We've already seen 2 live-action adaptations of Oscorp. What if I'm saying this? The Avengers Tower is a symbol of hope, greatness, and awesomeness, pretty much, of people saying, hey, the superheroes that protect our world, they live here. But now that they've moved out and Oscorp moves in, it's like a sinister, kind of green-looking object, and it's like, ooh, it's so menacing now, and it would be fit so well. It would be a great introduction to the Green Goblin. Just think about it. A new kid, Harry Osborn, meets Peter, they become best friends, and the same thing that happened in this movie with Osborn figuring out who Peter is. Great introduction, and it'd be a great way to introduce the Green Goblin into the Sinister Six. And I'm going to come back to the Sinister Six in a minute. But another people are saying, look how the Avengers. Now, since the first Avengers film, everyone's been saying how the A looks. It looks like a 4. What if this became the Fantastic Four building? Now, people are saying right now that Marvel and 20th Century Fox are going through bringing characters, and Sony as well, are selling and giving away different Marvel characters. And people are saying that maybe the X-Men and the Fantastic Four may or may not enter the MCU. So, what do you guys think? Also, I have another one. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is in the Netflix show Daredevil. the villain in that movie, I mean, in that show, is one of them is Wilson Fisk. Now, I haven't watched Daredevil in a while now, and I can't remember if Wilson Fisk has a tower, but in the comics, Wilson Fisk has a big tower. Now, if you don't know who Wilson Fisk is, he's also known as the Kingpin, and the Kingpin is one of the world's greatest villains. He's a big crime lord. He controls crime all over the world, and he has a big tower in the middle of the city. Now, as the people see him as a good person, but as the villains and other citizens around the world that don't know who the Kingpin is, they see him as an enemy, so it would be a great way to introduce. But I think it might turn into Oscorp. But let me know down in the comment section below if you guys think it will. And the last part of this movie that is rushing out, there's I think 2 or 3 scenes where there's this tiger running through the hallways, and I'm like, wait, what? Is that a foreshadowing of the Kraven showing up in the second Spider-Man movie? But no, because that comes later when Peter is at the Decathlon team meeting, because Liz is moving with her mother back to Oregon. They're leaving because the things have already happened with their father and the Vulture being here, so they're moving away. So, and also, Peter doesn't get the girl in this movie, which is pretty surprising. I'm like, wait a minute, this didn't really have a good happy ending for him. But, which is good, because you're not always supposed to walk out having everything that you like. They kind of showed that in Captain America Civil War when the Avengers went home, and Zemo went home with nothing. His mother, his wife, his son, they were all dead. And I kind of felt him in that moment, so I kind of feel Peter in this movie. He's like, wow, I saved the day, but I also kind of ruined her life at the same time. But he's like, great responsibility, though. So when Peter goes to the meeting, Zendaya's character, Michelle, is volunteered to be the team leader, and instead of calling herself Michelle, she says, my friends call me MJ. And I'm just like, wait, what? Are you kidding here? Is this really gonna happen? So, Michelle is gonna be Mary Jane Watson. I'm just kidding. She's not really called Mary Jane Watson. In this movie, she's called Mary, I think, Jones or Michelle. Yeah, okay. Let me restart. Zendaya's character, Michelle, is called Michelle Jones, otherwise known as MJ. It's not going to be Mary Jane Watson, the original one. This is going to be Michelle Jones, or MJ. So it's going to be a spin-off type of thing, where she's going to be a different character. But through this entire movie, she says, I'm not obsessed with Peter, I just observe him. And that's what she does in this movie. And then when Peter leaves to go talk to Happy in the bathroom, she's like, where are you going? And she's like, I don't really care. And then when he leaves, she goes up and she's like, where are you really going? So she's beginning kind of observant now. If she won't figure out in the second movie, she'll figure out in the third one. So I'm really excited to see what Zendaya does. But you did a really good job in this movie, so thank you, Zendaya. So finally, Happy reunites with Peter. They have this funny moment. And the more times I watch this scene in the movie is where Happy is in the restroom talking with Peter. A kid comes out, and before he does, Happy says, I don't know what I would do at this job. I mean, before I met Tony, and then he hears a tulip flash. Now, I know this is supposed to be a commented moment, but I'm thinking in my head, is he really saying that his job was a giant piece of... I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's symbolism there, or that's, I don't know. Just let me know down in the comment section below if you guys understand what I'm saying here. But when Happy takes Peter to the new facility in of Avengers headquarters, and like him and Tony have this funny moment with each other, walking back, find each other. Tony has 50 reporters in a back room and a new Spidey suit, and I was already thinking, wait a minute, if this is not the Iron Spider suit from that he gave him already, then what's behind that case? And as the doors open, I'm like, oh my god, this is the Iron Spider. Now, it doesn't look like, it doesn't have the 3 golden hands, or doesn't have the gold looking, but it has blue, black, red, and gold pieces over. I'm just like, oh! I'm like, Peter, I'm just like freaking out. But then as like he's talking about the reporters and the new Avengers facility and being here away from home and his friends and his family, he's like, Peter, I could feel him in that moment as well. He's like, I've been doing this entire movie led up to me becoming an Avenger, but at the end he's like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be an Avenger right now. Maybe I should stay home and look out for the little guy, of course. So Peter turns down the opportunity to become an Avenger and have the Iron Spider suit. Now, people have been saying, if he didn't want to be an Avenger, Tony could have just given him the suit, but I'm glad he didn't take the suit. And even though a little part of me was like, I wish you took him the suit, but the other half of me, I'm just like, you know what? Peter did not need that suit. I'm glad he's going to have his homemade suit and maybe the other suit that Tony gave him. So when Peter leaves to go back to New York, Pepper Potts steps out of the door. I'm just like, oh, she's back! Everyone thought in Civil War that Tony made up that stupid lie of Pepper being dead. I mean, after Iron Man 3, they kind of got together, and then Tony blew up all his suits, but in Age of Ultron, he had these new suits, and then in Captain America Civil War, he explains that Pepper and him were taking a break, and I was like, oh, man, but then people were like, no, it's just a lie, Pepper's dead, and I'm just like, no, they wouldn't, I don't know, but then when she showed me, I'm like, she's not dead, I was like, yeah, baby, yeah, and then, like, she's like, you have, like, a big announcement to make, so then Happy gives Tony a ring, and he says he's been holding it in since 2008, so that's another timeline thing I gotta work out, so thank you, Mr. Hogan, for ruining that big surprise for me. But I guess Peter and Pepper are going to get married. So I'm really happy for them. I'm really good. Because even though our little boy didn't get his girl, at least one man did get his. So I see you. Also, MJ, her homecoming. Ayo, I see you. So finally, when Peter goes home, he sees a bag that says, from TS, oh, I think that you needed this. Peter gets the spider suit out and he puts it on, and throughout the movie, before when he gets home in every single scene, he's checking to see if Aunt May's not there, and he says it. But when he takes off his mask and he's looking outside his window, we see Mary Jane outside the door, and my brother got this part right. He said his Aunt May is supposed to figure out that Peter is Spider-Man, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm glad I did not bet on that because it turns out right. Aunt May figures out who Peter is, and she's like, what the? And then like it codes out the black, and then that's it. I love that. And now it's time to talk about the end credit scenes. Now, I was really excited to see the end credit scene. So the first end credit scene shows Matt Gargan and Adrian Toomes meeting up in the prison, and he's like, "I know you know." He's like, "I heard that you know who Spider-Man really was," and he's like, "Even if I did, I would have killed him already." And he's like, "Well, I've got some people here that would like to kill him." So of course he's either talking about friends, um, that Matt Gargan's had for a very long time, or he's talking about some Sinister Six. And I don't know about you, but I would really like to see the Kraven the Hunter, the Mysterio, Scorpion, Vulture, um, either Sandman or somebody else, a Dog Octopus. And who knows? I can't believe I might make another video talking about who I really would like to see in the MCU. Some other supervillain I've never seen on the big screen or I've not heard of, and I'll go into that in another video. But I'm really excited. And then the final end credit scene shows Captain America coming out on those VGA tapes, and he's like, "You waited so long for something so disappointing." And he's like, "How many more have we got to do?" So he's not just talking about his role being Captain America. How many more movies have I got to be in? He's also talking about the MCU movies. So Limitless, we're probably gonna have more and more and more because people have been saying after Avengers 4 and Spider-Man 3 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they're gonna end the MCU. No, they are not. We've still got a long way to go. So yeah, guys, that was my breakdown of the Spider-Man. I know I had a lot of things to cover on me, on my opinion, but yeah, I might do more of these. Now, I did my, the next one I'm doing is Get Out, and it's probably going to be a little bit shorter just because there's not much that big Easter eggs unless I go into really big depth. But comic book movies have a lot of Easter eggs, so probably when Avengers Infinity War rolls in, I'm probably going to do some big, the videos are probably going to be longer, but yeah, I'm going to edit this down as kind as I can, but I'm going to keep everything I've said that's really important in. But yeah, that was my Spider-Man review. I love Spider-Man Homecoming. This movie has changed me. I love it so much. I've got so much frustration from it where I'm gonna like make it into my own like Spider-Man series, not the characters from that, but like people know that I'm making a Spider-Man Lego show that's coming soon. So this movie really helped me get some like big ideas for it. But yeah, I love this movie. It was so good. And I know I didn't tackle every single joke. If I did miss an Easter egg or your favorite scene, or if you want me to know anything that you knew about this movie that I didn't know, or if you want to start up a conversation about Spider-Man Homecoming, do so in the comment section below. But yes, this movie was out of this world. Definitely go see it. If you're hesitating to go see a Spider-Man movie, thinking this is a dumb reboot, don't. This is a really good Spider-Man movie. You will enjoy it. So yeah, I am going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. Now the reason I say it's 9 out of 10 because it did good character development, great acting, great color, all action scenes really good. The story overall was great. Thank you guys so much, Marvel, Disney, everybody. You all did a great job. So a 9 out of 10 movie for Spider-Man Homecoming. Without further ado, Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, explode that button, like a creeper, like it shows with amazing comments, guys. If this happens to be the first video you see me, then do subscribe and do what we have today for so much more. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye! And remember, always imagine bigger.